Stand up, please. Settle into the weight of your bones. Slow your breath. Let your breathing become more horizontal. Drift back behind your eyes, behind the bones of your face. Taste and smell the air as you draw it into yourself. Participate in your weight. Orient your breath downwards. Orient the flow of pressure downwards. Feel the ground respond as it holds you. Hollow fists to the space behind your ears. 3 hits. Sides of your neck. Collarbones. Sternum. Belly. Groins. Kidneys. Left armpit. Right armpit. Left elbow crease. Right elbow crease. Left wrist crease. Right wrist crease. Settle back into your weight. And as you find your center, take a long swallow and follow it down. Again, participating in your weight. Do it once more and let the swallow travel all the way down through the legs, into the feet, into the ground. Bring your arms by your sides, start to hug your elbows in. Keep the knees soft. Become long through the belly even as you orient your breath downwards. Stay long through the belly. Come to circle breath. Let your breath fill into the pelvis first before it rises into the kidneys. Then let it press out into the armpit ribs, attempting to press your arms apart with it. Stay long without letting it make you small. Grow your porcupine quills, your tortoise shell, and attempt to lengthen against it. The top of your breath, add a swallow. Bring your right hand to the side of your skull. Keep everything else from tortoise the same. From somewhere deep in the midline, begin to press into your head. Resist with your head. Come to your wolf's bite, biting without biting. Come to puffy cheeks, monkey face. Let the push and the resistance build together. Hold to center, hold to the midline. Bring the arm down into tortoise. And bring the other arm up. Monkey face. From the midline, resist. Return to tortoise. Let the hands be a little lower. Let the elbows open a bit more. Double breath. Full inhale. Full exhale. Stay long and begin. The end of your next exhale, empty everything out. Hold at the bottom of your exhale. Take a slow swallow. Add the pressure of your swallow down on top of the exhale and hold. Take a slow breath. And as you exhale, relax the arms. Return to the natural tides of your breath. Allow the volume to be turned up slowly. And listen with your skin, both internally and externally. And settle into your cell. And take your time as you return to your seat. Can you hear me well? What we aim at determines what we see. This isn't instinctually obvious. We have been conditioned to believe that reality is what's available to us at any time, that the reality out there is what we see. But it's what we aim that determines what we're capable of seeing in relation to the infinite possibilities of all the variables and all the sensory inputs that can be experienced. So there has to be some way that we can limit the combinatorially explosive reality into something that we can absorb. And our aim functions in that way. We'll speak more at the end about what this means, because this isn't fully a conscious process. There's there's cognitive mechanisms that we have that are unconscious and have been built over long periods of time that already do the work of filtering for us. So the some of the misunderstood and popular some of the misunderstood and popular books and philosophies on this, something like The Secret, Manifestation, those kinds of ideas, they're usually delivered in a very atrophied or misunderstood way. But there is something behind them. There is something behind them, and that something behind them is if there was a way possible to turn our attention towards a certain way of being, then certain things become more available to our perceptions, meaning that we're more available to opportunities that are always present but are unavailable to us unless our perception can perceive them. Part of the practices that we do, part of what ritual does, is give us the space to soften those filters, to soften those cognitive mechanisms in order for us to be able to consciously intervene and refine or reorient our aim and our direction. It's more complex than that, but let's leave it at that for now, and we'll take it up later. We spoke last week as far as the ancient idea of what beauty is a disclosure of reality, as reality that reveals itself through beauty. Through our perceptual lenses, we're able to experience reality, and that reality is perceived by us as the ancient idea of beauty. But in order to do this properly, in order to do this in the ways that the text connected to something reverent and sacred, that requires an aim that is higher than the beauty itself, that's higher than beauty for its own sake. And I just mentioned reverence, but reverence cannot be forced. We cannot force ourselves into a state of reverence. Reverence comes from experiencing something first. So what this means for our first moments together is I'm already helping you, or these practices are already helping you to orient and attend to processes, to the body in a certain way. And it's a circular relationship. So as we attend to the body, already that attention has a sacred quality to it. We're already refining our aim from within that attention. And from that attention and the processes that happen in the body, the cognitive mechanisms are softened, which allow even a further refinement of our aim as the teeth of our unconscious imprisoned attentional filters are softened, and we're able to, for moments, reorganize. So it's a circular process. You may think already, it begs the question of what comes first, of what's the intervention, of if I already need to be called to attend in a certain way in order to do something that's going to create the loop that allows the cognitive mechanisms to soften in order for me to reorient, then what's the intervention that happens first? And that's a simple way to speak of the things that our ancient texts, that our wisdom traditions spoke of as the grace of God, as being struck from a horse and blinded, as being confronted by an angel, as being possessed, as hearing the still small voice of God in our heads. There is something that beckons, and beauty in the ancient sense had that same beckoning quality. Awe had that same beckoning quality, that we stand beside ourselves for a moment. And that's what ecstasy means. The etymology of ecstasis, what ecstasy means is to stand beside yourself or beyond yourself. We're taking out of ourselves for a moment to something that's beyond our own capacities. So just keep that in the back. We'll have time for more reflection. And there's a reason that we go through practices first. There's a reason that we don't speak first, that we don't sit down and have long dialogues of philosophy first. Because if we do that, there's a very high probability that the place that we're going to be having philosophical discussions from is going to stay intellectual and left hemisphere. And even many of the very intelligent philosophers and psychologists create this order of things where it all remains an intellectual exercise and it never comes down into the felt sense, into the place that integrates, into the place that transforms. So coming into movement first affords us already a different kind of perception and access to a different aspect of what we can see and where we speak from. So we move first and then we speak. So keep that in the back of your mind. Let the words fade into the background. We spoke, or we've practiced already quite a bit within two bridges, two bridges between our conscious intervention in movements and our reflexive transformation. The conscious intervention is where we realize the ways that we were doing things before. We notice where we're not quite as connected as we want to be. And then we use our consciousness, our conscious awareness, and our conscious choices in order to change something, to instill some kind of difference in the ways that we're doing things. But this is still at that conscious level. It's still at that level where it's not fully integrated into reflexive action yet. So we use breath, which is both conscious and unconscious. If you try to hold your breath long enough, you'll pass out and you'll start to breathe again. You can not think about it throughout the day, and whether it's uh, whether it's good breath or bad breath, even though those two things are not truly accurate, you're going to breathe. The same thing with your swallow. Whether you realize it or not, you're swallowing throughout the day. You can also consciously intervene and swallow. So we use these two as a neurological bridge between, okay, I'm intervening here and I'm trying to draw it down into unconscious reflex. There's a third one that we haven't discussed yet. We've done a little bit of it, and if you've worked with one-on-one, we've done a little bit of it, but it's the yawn. The yawn is also an unconscious activity or an unconscious process in the body. And just in case if your left brain guards need to be bribed for a moment, no one has closed the book on what a yawn does. On we have the full understanding of what a yawn does. We have ideas. One of the ideas is it cools the brain. Okay, it cools the brain. That's also the idea of why our brain looks kind of like a radiator, why it's folded up and folded up. One of the ideas is that that lets the brain, which is, believe it or not, it's what burns the most calories in your body. So the brain, they're thinking, machine metaphors that the brain can overheat. So we need mechanisms in order to cool the brain. One is the shape of the brain itself, and another would be, well, what if the yawn is a way to go in and cool the brain? Possibly. But I will promise you that that is not the only thing that the brain that the yawn does. There are other mechanisms that there's other affects and other benefits to what the yawn is. We're going to use the yawn first as a reflexive bridge from the conscious world into the unconscious world, and third as ways to play with a different plane of our breath, play with a different capacity that we have to expand. And one of the issues with doing this is that most of us, being in a polite society, attempt to limit our yawns, and we do this so much that we'll even do it when there's nobody around without even realizing it. And then occasionally maybe we'll let ourselves fully go into a yawn, and it's a very different experience when we fully go into a yawn as it is when we're and we even apologize for it, right? Excuse me. Oh, sorry. We're apologizing for this bodily function that has qualities that are beneficial for us. And we can induce a yawn. Have you ever induced a yawn? Try to induce a yawn right now. Some of us are better at this than others. Some of us have tried and have see already smiles coming in from trying to induce a yawn. If somebody else is there with you, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. So when we try to induce a yawn, we almost need to start the yawn. And a lot of times our bodies will come. But even if it doesn't come fully, we can make the actions as if the yawn is coming. So what is a yawn? It usually comes from the face first. with a deep, long breath through the mouth that expands into the rib cage. And if we allow it, we can take that same energy and allow that same energy to open up the airway, open up the long neck, and expand more fully into the ribs. So one of my friends, he works a lot with yawning. Actually, he does a lot of work with yawning, and this is why I'll speak about it as the ape yawn. If you ever see an ape, like a gorilla, the gorilla yawn, you ever see them? I mean, their lips peel back, their fangs are flared, their faces go forward. It's an intimidating act to see a gorilla yawn. And that same idea of allowing the fullness of the yawn to come to your jaw, to come to your throat, and to allow the monkey face to grow forward so it doesn't get lost in the lifting of the chin. If we lift the chin as we yawn, we're losing our capacity to hold onto that pressure, to hold to that pressure and move it into the places that we want to expand. So bring your fingers to the outsides of your throat. We've done this already before where we tried to squeeze in and we attempted to push against the squeeze of our fingers. But now go ahead and imagine that you're still doing the biting without biting. So that same sense of strength in the jaw that comes forward. And as you try to induce your yawn, feel your neck push into your fingers, attempting to create a strength or a bigness to your throat, the biggest bigness that you can in your throat. So attempt to do that now. Bring your fingers to your throat. Induce the yawn. Lengthen it. Make the yawn as long as you can. Imagine that the face is coming forward. You're resisting the lift of the chin. And see if you can feel the pressure of that yawn move into the throat, the armpit ribs, and get as big as you can with the yawn. Try that once more. Let it come slowly, as if there's that sound coming. And increase the pressure. And tense into your fingers, puff into your fingers. Imagine that the same yawn is opening up the pelvic floor. Remember the circular breath that we did. So as the inhale goes, we're trying to fill and feel into the pelvic floor first, then into the low back, then up and forward into the armpit ribs. And try it twice more on your own without my guidance. Do it just from your experience. And now do it twice more slowly, and focus more on this bigness and widening that comes from the mechanics of the yawn. We're moving the breath down, pelvic floor fills, kidneys, armpit ribs, widening of the throat, attempting to expand and feel this as fully as possible through the entire body. Mythically, these three bridges can also be conceptualized as the pathway between this world, the world of the mundane, and the underworld, which the capacity to move between those two worlds, in especially our earliest mythic traditions, was was of utmost importance. That there was something to be learned and discovered in the underworld. That whenever we needed something, we wouldn't necessarily go to the heavens first, but we would descend. We would do what was called in incubation practices. The cell that we use here is another one of those, but it's an incubation practice where you descend, you give yourself to your weight, you become as heavy as possible. You use your sensations to sink deeply into yourself, and you would stay in this way until you were spoken to or until something was realized. We've moved through the head push before already. We're going to refine it a bit. The purpose of the head push, there's purposes to the head push, but we can see it as a place to experience stability or to externalize stability, to take a conscious sensory experience and draw it inwards into stability, a place of focus, a place of connection, and a place to build those relationships. When we're doing the head push, the effort of it, as we refine it, the effort of it doesn't stiffen the shoulders, it doesn't even stiffen the palm. So we're looking for clarity from the heel of the hand through the bones of the arms and deeper into the midline of the body. So the fingers can remain soft, even the palm remains receptive. We're attempting to not let the shoulder stiffen so the arm can even move. So the experience of the head push happens from a deeper place. The head resists, the arm resists, neither moves. Even though I could move my arm, I'm maintaining the resistance here. The push is happening, but my shoulder can still be mobile. My wrist can still be mobile. My head is moving slightly, but there's a sense of stability that's still being organized there. And as we do this, imagine that this is going down, that the stability is going down the same pathway as of yawn or of swallow. So it's from top down. Allow the resistance and the stability to be felt between head and hand, and then imagine that there's a sinking, like a stone, with the stability that's created, and the skull can almost drop. And you can use your swallow to add to that, as if you're swallowing the sense of stability. And go ahead and switch arms. Again, build it slowly. Find the pathway from the heel of the hand through the bones of the arm, past the shoulder, into the armpit ribs, and from the armpit ribs into the midline, where it can be spread from top to bottom. And allow yourself to keep this. Allow your eyes to close and inhabit the stability. What I mean by that is that experience it from the inside. You can tip your weight slightly, a millimeter or two forward and back, keeping the connection to the midline. As your arm gets tired, feel free to switch and go to the other side. And now use your yawn, either real or induced, along with the head push, to attempt to inhabit more, to expand from the midline that's stable now outwards, filling the spaces that need to be filled. Like a wave, you can allow movements that are a little bit bigger. You can look at me to see what I'm talking about when I do this. Maintaining the pressure between hand and head. maintaining stability at your midline, and let yourself sway side to side so there's a give in the spine, but a stable give, as if the spine was an elastic, a tightly coiled elastic. Use yawns as you feel that you can use them, as you can feel that you can get to them. And then allow yourself to return to your cell. We'll do this one more time in a moment. Allow the volume to be turned up on the echoes of the experience, whether they be subtle or obvious. And then once more, hand to skull. Slowly begin to push, find the connection from heel of hand through the bones of the arm, past the shoulder, into the armpit ribs, and into the midline. Then use your yawn to expand from the stable midline outwards, and keeping the pressure between hand and skull, the sense of stability. Let your spine still be receptive and move against it. Allow sways or tilts or small waves, maintaining the elastic connection. Switch arms when your arm gets tired. Use your yawns to continue to inhabit, to feel the places that need the extra pressure, the extra connection. And then relax the arms. Close the eyes, again settle into your cell. Allow the volume to get turned up. Come to standing, please. We will work from the three hinges. Now, when I speak about three hinges, the first hinge is the front of the ankle. The second hinge is the back of the knee. The third hinge is the front of the pelvis. So when we talk about the three hinges, we're talking about coming into all three hinges, coming into all three hinges. So the front of the ankle closes, the back of the knee closes, the front of the hip closes. Now allow your feet to come to a place where this is comfortable. You might notice that it'd be much easier for you to hinge this way, or to hinge mostly at the knees, or to hinge at the knees and the pelvis and avoid the front of the ankle. So as best as you can from within the capacities you have in your own body, get some closure to the front of the ankle. The front of the ankle means dragon tongues. The knees come forward. That's another way to say close the front of the ankles. Knees come forward, dragon tongues. Dragon tails, as the tail pulls back, the back of the knee and the front of the pelvis. You can bring your hands to your thighs for support. This doesn't need to be very deep, just a place to feel all three hinges. Now from this place, we build the tortoise. Come to fingertips on the thighs. Long belly. Orient your breath downwards. Inhales and exhales press downwards. Low belly is long, kidneys are long. Finding the connection from sternum, flowing into the low belly triangle. The lift of the front of the halo, the drawing down of the back of the halo. Bring the elbows into the sides. Armpit ribs, the front of the chest opens. Biting without biting. Throat triangle. Grow your tortoise shell without letting the hinge on the front of the hips close. Open your tortoise shell, your porcupine quills, and then orient your breath downwards and attempt to close, to open all three hinges at once. So press downwards without losing the tortoise shell. Open the back of the knee, the front of the ankle, and the front of the hips. And then again, all three at the same time. Close the front of the ankle, back of the knee, front of the hips. Maintain the tortoise shell. Keep the tortoise shell. Press down. Use the press down of your breath. Use a swallow this time. Press down without losing the tortoise shell. Come back up. Rest for a moment. Rest in your stance. Set the tortoise shell up again. Three hinges. And start with the fingers resting on the thighs. So you can use that for some support. Hug the elbows in front of the ankle, back of the knees, front of the pelvis. Find your length. Grow your porcupine quills, your tortoise shell. This time, bring one of your hands to your kidney. You can be the back of your hand or the palm of your hands. But as you do this, keep the front of the chest open. Keep the pelvis back. Circular breath. Fill the pelvis first. Breathe into the hand, then the armpit ribs. Now maintaining the fullness in the hand, the fullness of the kidneys, press down on your next inhale without losing the connection of the kidneys. Come back up. Stand as tall as you can without losing the connection to the kidneys. And then again, hinge. Three hinges. Keep the length as you hinge. Do not lose the length. Once more, press down. Keep the connection to the kidneys, the fullness of the kidneys in your hand. All three hinges close at the same time. When you find a center with kidneys full, long swallow. Relax the arms. Relax the body. Stay in your stance. Triple hinge. The three hinges. Fingers first, tortoise shell. Find your length. Separate the ribs away from the hips as much as you can. Connection between sternum and low belly triangle. Kidneys are long. Bring the elbows to your sides. Lift the front of the halo, drop the back of the halo, maintaining your length. Take the other hand back behind you to the kidneys. On your next inhale, same thing. Stay long, keep your length. This time induce a yawn as you inhale and press down. Come up without losing the fullness of the kidneys. And one more time, hinge. Stay long, don't lose the length as you hinge. And again, induce a yawn. Stand as tall as you can without losing the kidneys. Rest the arms. Now, the kidney hand is both an ally. It allows you to feel. It allows you to feel the tendency as you come up to lose the fullness of the kidneys, where the kidneys collapse and the breath comes forward and we shorten in the back in order to come up. So the hand, although it becomes more challenging to maintain this position as we come up, it's also an ally so we can feel. And there's feedback as we come up and we move here. And then the same thing on the way down. The tendency is on the way down is that we either over lengthen or over shorten. So maintaining the fullness. Now isn't this fullness isn't a stiffness of shape necessarily. There's going to be movement. It's a maintenance of fullness. So think about the difference between a balloon that's being bent to a balloon that's being deflated. It's okay for the balloon to be bent. What we're looking for is for the balloon to not lose its internal pressure dynamics. We're looking for it not to lose its inflation. So if you're feeling some movement in the lower back or some movement in the kidneys, that is fine. What we're looking for is stability of pressure, not necessarily a stiffness of movement in this place. Yeah, because we're going to want to maintain some of the, let's leave it like that. We're looking for fullness of pressure, but not stiffness of movement. Now, the hand pressing the head is an ally and also a challenge as well. So one of the places we can also lose the connection is in this place, this core. So this core and this core, the places that this connection can be lost. So we bring the hand to the skull. Come to the camera for a moment, or come to the monitor for a moment. Bring your hand to your skull. Resist. At the same time, bring your fingers to your throat and induce a yawn and try to puff into your fingers. When you feel that, bring your fingers to your throat triangle. Do you feel your throat triangle come in a bit? Yeah. Yeah. Robert, bring your chin down a little bit when you do this. So keep your chin more parallel to the ground. Even think you're actually trying to, it's this movement. So with this, the back of the skull is actually opening and everything is almost being drawn in to this place. The bones of the face grow forward, the jaw extends forward, and the throat almost pulls back into the back of the neck. Yeah, better, better. So try to induce your yawn from there. Bring your fingers to your throat. And now feel for your throat triangle. Yeah, better there? Yeah. So the throat triangle is also a gathering of the internal core tissues or some of the midline tissues that are connected from this deeper place. So we're using these outer actions to integrate these deeper core connections here. And I say it's an ally because in doing this, it gives us something to externally focus on that organizes these deeper places as we start to move and become more dynamic with these connections. And we're likely, or there's going to be the tendency for us to devolve into our compensational patterns. So this is a way to hold ourselves to truth. Let's say to avoid bringing it back to psychological or philosophical terminology to avoid self-deception. Where it's like, well, look, I'm doing this thing. It's like, well, are we really doing this thing? Because and there's a courage to this as well. There's an honesty and integrity and a courage. Because it's much easier to look like we're doing the thing, to fake that we're doing the thing, even to ourselves, where we can a lot of movement when it becomes performative is, how do I say this? In the attempt, if our aim is performance, if our aim is to make the movement look like something, we are highly likely to self-deceive. We're highly likely to look like we're doing the transformative practice without actually getting to the depths of what the practice contains, that may be what ritual is really trying to unleash from inside of us. So stepping back from performative practice first and allowing the aesthetic to be a secondary quality. If you see somebody move with depth and grace, likely it's that they're connecting to something deep first. Yeah, it can look pretty, but when we're witnessing something that changes something within us just by observing it, where it becomes that Goethe's drawing the organ of perception out of us, where it becomes that the observance of something reveals something about reality, that it feels like it's even revealing it from within our own bodies. Watching somebody move in this way, it feels that there's something in us that's almost moving towards them or answering their movement that comes from a different place. So these external actions that we're doing, these constraints that we're creating, is a way to afford a path towards truth and away from self-deception, so we can access the depths of what these movements have in them. Okay, so let's come back. So the hand on the kidneys, the kidney hand, is avoiding self-deception and keeping us connected to the deep aspects of this lower chamber. The hand to the skull is doing the same for this upper chamber. So come to your three hinges. Build a tortoiseshell, elbows by the sides. Connection between sternum and low belly triangle. Building the tortoiseshell, getting as much length as we can, one hand to the kidneys, the other hand to the skull. Find the resistance. Induce a yawn. Maintaining the connections, maintaining the integrity, the depth, and the honesty, staying as long as you can. Come over your body. When you get there, to get to the place that you can, take a long swallow. And then keep the pressures and come again. Hinge. Keep the fullness of the kidneys, the pressure between hand and head. And again, induce a yawn. When you get to the top, keep breathing. When you get to the top of the breath, swallow. Now twice more, come back down, take your time. If you need to rest between, rest between. You're gonna switch hands. Build the tortoise. Find the path of the head push through the arm and from the midline. Take your time building it now. On your pace, on your breath. Find the fullness, the length, the clarity. You can do it with or without the yawn. Just use your breath as you come up. And swallow it down at the top. And do it once more. Come back, please. Come back and take a moment and sit in yourself. The arch is the release. So either the arch or the collapse to the front of the body is a loss of internal pressure that leads to superficial compression, where either we're losing the internal pressures pressing outwards in the front, where we compress and collapse into the front of the body, where we compress and collapse into gravity, or the same thing can happen in the back, where we come up, and as we come up, again, we're losing the internal pressures. So the tortoise, maintaining the tortoise, these internal pressures, using the hand on the skull and the hand on the kidneys as feedbacks to maintain the pressures. As you become more intimate with these shapes, you'll begin to see, to refine where it is that you specifically, where we all have different things, different experiences, different encounters and confrontations, and yeah, experiences written in our bodies on where we compensate. And they're all intelligent. They all serve a purpose, an adaptive purpose, a survival purpose in us. But to re-inhabit ourselves to our ultimate capacity is what this work is. So we're attempting to find where it is for us, and creating an environment where we can not only mimic the outer shapes, but use the outer shapes and the interconnections and the refinement of our senses to become participants in the more complete inhabiting of our individual bodies from within our individual uh, compensational patterns and within our individual lives. So there's this collective quality of ritual, and there's this individualistic quality as well, where we're coming out into the collective, doing external things that look the same together. But like Arthur's knights, like the Knights of the Grail, when we all get to the edge of the forest, we separate, even though we train together, even though we orient together, even though we have shared values and shared beliefs. When we ride out towards the Grail together in a group, in a shared orientation, when we get to the forest, we must each separate and find the place in the forest that's darkest for each of us. And then we explore on our own, and then we come back and we share again. So again, this enfolding and unfolding, enfolding and unfolding of where does where does the individual fit within the collective in this sense, in this kind of community. From seated, just a different plane, from right where you are, go ahead and lean forward. Allow the front of your groins, the front of your hip creases to close. Bring one hand to your kidneys, the other to your skull. And from here, even if the folding forward is a collapse, as you bring your hand to your skull, use your breath, the circle breath into the pelvic floor, back into the kidneys, into the armpits, to begin to inflate the shape. Resist with your hand. Find your connections, either a real external yawn or the internal dynamics of it. Use that to inflate yourself back up. Keep the fullness of the kidneys as best as you can. Come up as tall as you can. Using this to explore the places that need to be fuller, and send more of your effort to create fullness in those places. And then come back. Keep the hands where they are. Come back. Allow yourself to fold forward. And then once more. It doesn't have to be one breath. It can be multiple breaths. Ratcheting yourself up. We haven't talked about that word in a while. Ratcheting yourself up. And go ahead and switch hands to do the other side twice. And I will remind you that, maybe not remind you, maybe state more explicitly that the creation of the tortoise shell, the constraints for the pressure system that we're building, the outer hug in that contains the inner expansion out, is going to require physical effort. So you may feel core engage in order to maintain the pressures into the tortoise shell. You may feel, the front of your abdominals or those muscles in the front of your belly start to engage so you can hold the pressure and move it back into your kidney heads. What we're not doing is telling you to engage your core or to squeeze your abdominals, but those are going to be natural functions of your quest to create these internal pressures. We want your nervous system to figure out which muscle fibers, which muscles to try to fire off and which ones to relax in order to create the optimal pressure in your body to create these systems within. Sit for a few moments, let your breath settle. And stay here a little longer if you need to. We'll take our break now. It is 34 after, so let's come back at 41. Let's come back at 41 after, so 6, 7 minutes, and then we'll come back and continue. From where you're sitting, go ahead and close your eyes. Find yourself connected. A place where you can feel the relationships. Use your breath to make yourself heavier. Now the pressure of your swallow for the same effect. To wolf bite, you're biting without biting, but make it subtle. Come to your monkey face. Again, doesn't have to be the most full expression of it, but to stabilize this place. Now, without moving the head, without moving the midline, take both of your eyes over to the left, behind closed eyes. So keeping the eyes closed, take both eyes over to the left without turning the head, without turning the neck. Now, maintaining everything, soften something around the eyes and take your eyes further still, to the point that it becomes painful or uncomfortable. Now, from this place, notice what your left eye sees. Notice what your right eye sees. And then slowly let the eyes return to center, keeping them closed. Now take both eyes over to the right. Maintaining your steadiness at the midline. Soften something around the eyes and take them further to the right, further still. To the point that it's uncomfortable or painful. And from this place, notice what your left eye sees. Notice what your right eye sees. And slowly allow them to turn back to center. Relax the face for a moment, but keep your eyes closed. Come back to monkey face, biting without biting. Take both eyes up. Soften something around the eyes and take both eyes further still to that edge. Notice what your left eye sees. Notice what your right eye sees. Allow them to return to center. Take both eyes down. Soften something around the eyes and take them further still to that edge. Notice what your left eye sees. Notice what your right eye sees. Bring them back to center. Relax the face. Go ahead and open your eyes. I need to normalize for a few moments. Physically, our eyes are intimately connected to the movement of our heads and necks, and especially the muscles at the most superficial place, especially the muscles where our skull meets our neck at the back of our necks. And we can lose our capacity to distinguish eye movement from head movement. As we lose our stability in our midline, we lose that capacity where we're confused, let's say, where those two movements become confused, where they're not differentiated well. So from within this practice, we're attempting to maintain our connection to the midline and broadening our capacity for our senses. Because if we're using just our bodies to move our eyes, and was this not uncomfortable for anybody? Did anybody feel completely comfortable with no sense of fatigue or pain or discomfort as you did this? Okay. Because we all start to atrophy. And as we start to atrophy, our perceptual field starts to narrow, meaning the amount of world that's available to us in any one position of our body has become smaller. This is, we can say that this is almost a very physical and superficial mirror to the relevance realization problem that we were speaking of right at the beginning, where our perceptual field, what we can actually experience of the world, is narrowed through different processes: cognitive, psychological, mythic, narrative processes, anatomical processes. So in this work, one of the main things that we're doing, the primary thing that we're doing, we're starting from the foundation that there is already something more to reality than what's available to my senses as they are now. And from that one place of opening the senses, we allow ourselves to come into encounter with that which is going to induce the awe and the reverence, to give us the motivation and the fuel and the telos to start to do the work in order to come into deeper relationships, so that organ of perception can become more fully present, and that the reality that's drawing it out of us can more easily be communicated with. Now, you can see that I'm holding back in I'm attempting to hold back from vague language as much as possible, because what we're trying to do, and for those of you that will be sharing this work, if we come to the narrative, if we come to the mythic, if we come to the vagueness and the abstract too quickly, we come to that place of performative, either performative acceptance or quick discounting of the reality of what's available to us, both physically and externally, spiritually, whatever words we want to put to it. And coming to the body first, coming from the perceptual field first, where somebody has an experience, then we can begin to discuss, well, what was that experience? What maps onto that experience? What do our texts say about how we can make sense of that experience and live from it and continue to develop more and more of that experience, so we are more aware of how that gives us a telos, an orientation to something that is greater, to the individual and limited narrative of me as just an encapsulated idea within a bag of skin that is here for an instant, that just popped into this place and will pop out of this place. Like, how do we overcome that in a real way, not in a hopeful, imaginative way, let's say. So this is part of that broadening of perception, the work with the eyes. And this is just the beginning of that work. So two things are happening here: our capacity to hold steady as we broaden our perception as well. So it says here, we always talked about this, we're always moving in two directions, that our capacity for movement is directly related to our capacity for anchoring or stillness, meaning something is always trying to draw us back home, and the more stable we are at that home deep midline, the more freedom and capacity we have to explore strongly away from that midline, because we're always trying to hold, something is always trying to draw us back to that center. Something always resists and tethers to home. We're not trying to get rid of that feeling. We're trying to create a greater relationship to that feeling. And then becoming stronger means I can move away from that feeling and anchor more firmly. So even our strength is moving in two directions at once: the strength to stay and the strength to move away from that staying, where we're opening both up at the same time. Go ahead and come to standing, please. Come to your warrior stance. Don't overthink this. Place your feet where they feel comfortable in relationship to your knees and into your hips, where you can come to your connections, the lift of the triangles, the connection from sternum, the feeling of the hips traveling down into the feet, the long belly, tortoise shell. Maintain those connections. Bring a hand to your skull. Whichever hand that is, find your connection to the midline. Use monkey face. Try to swallow the effort of the monkey face, the effort of the head push down through the whole body. Inhabit it with your yawn or with your breath. And now with your eyes, keeping to the steadiness, move your eyes over and see your elbow. Then move your eyes and attempt to see your knee. And now switch between elbow to knee, 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 elbow to knee. Switch hands. Find the connections, swallow them down. Let the effort go away from the wrist, away from the fingers, away from the shoulder. Use your breath or yawn to inhabit. Elbow, knee, elbow, knee, elbow, knee, elbow, knee. Keep doing this on your pace. And as you do this, as this moves, find a steadiness and a stillness and almost a relaxation from within the intensity. Switch hands. Relax the arm, come back to standing. Find yourself. Soften your knees, yield to your weight. Bring one hand to your skull. Shift your weight from one foot to the other, but maintain the connections. Monkey face. Shift your weight to the same leg that you have your hand, same leg that you have your hand. Maintain the connection to the midline, the push, the monkey face. Slowly lift the opposite knee. And then again, use your eyes, elbow, knee, elbow, knee, elbow, knee. Foot down. As you switch, switch hands. Find your stability, find your connection. Use that connection to anchor you. Use the pressure to inhabit. Monkey face, lift the knee. Soft foot, soft fingers, elbow, knee, elbow, knee. Go as slow as you need to, but as fast as you can. Move feet down. Relax the arms. Settle into yourself. Bring the first hand up again. Take your time to set it up. Find the stability. Allow yourself to swallow it from the top down. Let it sink. But as it sinks, use that sinking to find long belly, monkey face. Shift your weight towards the hands. Lift the opposite knee, but this time bring the foot to the front of the thigh. Press foot into thigh, thigh into foot. Keep the standing leg bent. And rest your hand on the thigh. Keep the steadiness, and again, elbow, knee, elbow, knee, Keep the press of hand into head. Keep monkey face, elbow, knee, elbow, knee. Keep swallowing the pressure down. Even try to swallow down into your standing leg, elbow, knee. Bring the foot down. Shift your weight, shift your hands. Take your time. Find the connections, find your tether and your anchor. Move the leg up slowly, maintaining your tether, maintaining your anchor. Place the foot on the thigh. Press foot into thigh, thigh into foot. Rest your opposite hand on that thigh. Let the stability move from top down. Swallow it down into your standing leg. Inhabit fully. Start slowly with the eyes. Elbow, knee, elbow, knee. Keep swallowing the pressure down, the connection down. Elbow, knee, elbow, knee. Bring the foot back down. Release the arms. Settle into yourself. Come back to sit, please. Find your weight. Bring your hand to your skull. Bring the other hand up. Soft fingers, about as wide as the elbow that you have lifted. Press your head into your hands. Monkey face. Swallow the pressures down. Swallow the stability that you're building between hand and head. Let it drift down. Let it sink down like a stone. Close the eyes if they're not there already. Then begin to sway. The same that we did before. But even as you sway, find a steadiness through the midline. Lean back slightly. Open the eyes. Elbow, fingers, elbow, fingers. Keep swallowing the stability down. Elbow, fingers, elbow, fingers. Come forward again. Soften the eyes. But again, allow yourself, almost as if you're slithering upwards. Allow yourself to slither upwards as if you're trying to come deeper into the neck of your shirt. Switch hands. And take your time. Swallow the stability down. And again, bring the other fingers up. Close the eyes. Begin to sway. Notice if the effort starts to bubble upwards into the neck, and then swallow the effort down. Monkey face if you're not there already. Open the eyes. Elbow, fingers, elbow, fingers, elbow, fingers, elbow, fingers, elbow, fingers. Come forward. Release the arms. Sit in your cell, please. Bring your left hand to your skull. Bring your right hand to the kidneys. Find the stability in the connections. Inhabit. Keep the long belly. Find the circle breath where you're breathing down into the pelvis, filling the kidneys and then out through the armpit ribs. Maintain your fullness. And as you inhale, twist towards the left slightly, rotate towards the left, but maintaining the sense of your midline so you're not shifting or tilting. You're trying to rotate around the axis of your midline. You're not going to go far. You don't need to go far. Just a sense of a rotation to the left, towards the hand that's on your skull. And once you have some rotation, increase the pressure of your breath, increase the power of your breath. Swallow it down as if the rotation, as if the pressure is trying to inflate you back to center. The superficial is twisting, is rotating. The internal pressure is trying to bring you back to center. And allow the next inhale to bring you back to center. And relax the arms. Bring the other hand to the kidneys, the right hand to the skull. Connection, stand tall without losing the fullness of the kidneys. Sit tall without losing the fullness of the kidneys. Keep the sense of the tortoise, your porcupine quills, your tortoise shell growing. Monkey face. Or even induce a yawn. Try to inhabit more by inducing a yawn before monkey face. Then monkey face. Maintain the pressures and rotate slightly to the right around this axis. Now use the pressures of your breath. You can use yawn to the pressure of your breath, as if you're trying to inflate yourself back to center. Fullness of the kidneys, hand position stays. Keep swallowing the stability down. On your next inhale, let yourself be inflated back to center. When you arrive, keep the kidney hand, release the head hand. Keep breathing into the kidney hand through the pelvis. Release the kidney hand. Come to all fours, please. And fluidus, unless otherwise instructed, when we come to all fours, the hands are slightly in front of the shoulders. The knees are slightly behind the hips. The elbows are soft. The weight is on the pinky edges of the hands. There's a cave on the index finger knuckle. So there's a slight lift on the index finger knuckle. So there's an arch in the hand. Elbows are soft in the same way that we do with the head push. We're attempting to find the connection between the part that's touching the ground through the bones of the arms, past the shoulder, into the armpit ribs and into the midline. Now, from this different relationship to gravity, find your connections. Orient the breath downwards. Long belly, connection of sternum to low belly triangle. Circle breath, breathing, pelvic floor, filling the low back, coming out into the armpit ribs, maintaining that pressure, the constraints. Monkey face. Top of the halo, so the front of the halo lifts up, the back of the halo drops down, but don't lose the connections to the kidneys. Induce a yawn, or the actions of a yawn. Attempt to inhabit. Bring the right hand to your skull. Reorganize the left hand as you need to, probably bring it closer to center. Closer to center, maybe just off the line of your face, soft elbow. Imagine that you're pushing that hand not just straight down, but almost forward and away from you. Hand to the skull, soft fingers. Find your stability through the press. And now from the stability, from the monkey face, induce a yawn and begin to sway as if you're slithering. Maintain the pressures of the balloon, the stability, and sway. Whenever you feel the effort coming into the neck too much, take a moment, swallow it down through the midline into the pelvis. Bring that hand down, come back to all fours, settle for a moment. Return to your connections if they've been lost. Bring your right hand now more central. Bring your left hand to the side of your skull. Find the stability, monkey face. Actually, induce a yawn first, inhabit the stability. And now monkey face. Soften the standing elbow as much as you need to. Attempt to sway and slither. When you feel the effort coming up into the neck or into the hands, swallow it down. Circle breath, pelvis, low back, armpit ribs. Bring both hands down. Sit back on your heels for a moment. Sit in yourself. And back to all fours. Find the triangles, the connections. Just for a moment, lean into your right hand, bring your left hand to your skull. Use it to find the effort. Use your yawn to inhabit it. Now keep the sense of effort that stabilizes your hand, your skull, your midline. Without losing it, bring your hand back down. Monkey face, and without losing that, begin to sway as if you still had your hand on your head. Allow your spine now, without losing the sense of connection, let it flex and let it extend. You can even let your spine wave. Small movements, but move as if you're still being resisted by your hand on your head, as if you still have that external scaffolding. Allow yourself now to move any direction, maintaining some of the sense of hand to head, of yawn. Let your weight shift from one hand and then to the other, from the outside of one hand to the outside of the other. You can do it with your hand, or you can remove your hand. Whenever you need to find it, you can bring your hand back for the next few breaths. Now sit back on your heels, sit back into yourself. From seated now, you can stay seated on your heels or kneeling, but from a lower position, from crossed legs, from a chair. As we come into our proto ritual, the cross. Deepen your connections, the sense of heaviness, the anchoring down. Find tortoise, the lifting of the front of the halo, the lowering of the back, and the drawing down of the lower ribs over the tortoise shell, even as the low back lengthens, growing of the porcupine quills. A yawn to inhabit. You can use for a moment just the hand to the skull for a breath to find the stability through the midline that you can swallow down. Once you feel it, use a yawn to inhabit it. Hands in front of you. And without losing the connections, maintaining that sense of center, the connections remain at the depths, but let the outer move as you inhale. Let the arms open. Let the spine extend. And as you exhale, allow yourself to curl in. And then inflate into all the connections. Inhabit fully as you open. And then as you exhale and empty down towards the center, you can allow yourself to even collapse. And then breathe through this movement. Allow it to take you where it will. Let go of any idea of what this looks like. You are blind to the outside. Your awareness is fully aimed inwards into experience. Inhabit fully as you do this. Keep the internal movement full, but make the external movement slowly smaller. As the external movement becomes smaller, let the sense of the internal fullness become bigger. Let it move you into stillness. But take your time to arrive. And I will still be here, but I'll be silent as you sit in your cell for the next minutes. mythic idea of wrestling with God or wrestling with the angel is sometimes conceptualized as an intellectual process or a cognitive process, a philosophical process. But the work that we are doing is the embodiment, the embodied expression of what that means. And it's been said in many places, but in let's say in popular, the most recent popular expression of it that I can draw from my memory is in the Matrix, in a scene in the Matrix where Neo is attempting to find someone, and he comes across her protector, and as soon as he comes across the protector immediately starts to fight him, and he fights him strongly. And after he fights him for a while to their highest effort, he stops the fight and he says, "Okay, now I know who you are." And Neo asked him, "He's like, well, you could have just asked me." And he looked at him and said, "Well, you don't truly know someone unless you fight them." And the idea is you truly don't know something unless you've wrestled with it, unless you have blood in the game. If you don't have blood in the game, then you haven't earned what you know. You can't call it knowing. You can call it memory. You can call it mimicking. You can call it imitation. But to know something, to know someone, is to push against them and have them push back against you. And we are expressing this mythic truth physically in the ways that we practice and move. This is to draw reality out from the world and to reckon with what still stands. So that which can still stand against the fullness of our efforts to push, that's the real. That's what beauty calls us to. And from this comes reverence. From this calls, from this comes reverence that at least within our own minds has earned our reverence or is worthy of our reverence. It's not reverence given cheaply or given away. It's reverence that's been earned. It's the story of Thomas. It's the story of not blind faith, but faith that was challenged, faith that was questioned, faith that required encounter. But there is a paradox. The body is the first instrument of orientation, but something must beckon first. Something that will not let us go. And each of you are here because of some version of that. Each of us is here because of some version of that, something in us that would not let us go unless we answered it. And we can speak of the different placeholder words of what that is, of what that whispers, still small voice of God, the call to wonder, the call to the hero's journey, whatever we want to put those words in. There's something that beckons, and there's also that quality, that terminology of when we hear the words the numinous, the etymology of the numinous means to call forth or to draw forth or to beckon. So something calls us outside of our understanding of what is it that's calling us, and it calls us through our desires, through our dreams, through our pain. We then answer by orienting through the body. Those of us that are lucky answer, and then we wrestle with what calls, and through that something is revealed. And then that reverence which was unconscious, that drew us towards itself. It's almost the tickle of the organ of perception that wasn't fully formed. Now from this process, something about that reverence becomes conscious, and we become steadier. We become more willing to bleed for whatever that is that we've seen, because we've come face to face. We put our hands into the wounds of what it is. We've answered the call, and we were rewarded with something that gives us the fuel to move forward. That's enough for now to try to conceptualize this cognitively, to give us some kind of words to narrative. And narrative, we don't understand what narrative is, but narrative is the expression of truths that cannot be expressed in any other way. They're too complex to express in any other way. The expression of truth and paradox, where we must hold opposing values, and we need to figure out how to organize that which is most meaningful and how to orient towards it. And that's what narrative does. So this allows us to place ourselves within a narrative that serves, and then to recover narratives that we may have lost, that have become dusty, that have become forgotten, and place ourselves within them once more, and realize that whether we realize it or not, whether it was conscious or not, we are in relationship with them. They are playing themselves out in us. The only question is if we're consciously orienting towards them or not. Few words before we finish, unless someone else has something. We did this from last week, 1 minute before the practice and 1 minute after the practice of stillness or wait. If it can be on the floor laying down, that incubation moment, if it can be for longer, let it be for longer. And the addition for this week, after these practices that soften the cognitive machinery, refine your aim, see what's calling you towards it unconsciously, see if that voice is clear, or that drive, if you don't like the word voice, if that drive is clear, and allow yourself to choose and refine your aim towards that which is most meaningful, towards that which you'd consciously be willing to bleed for. Choose it more consciously. Thank you for your presence, for your time. Someone has
Thank
something.
you.
Thank you.
Forced. Thank you, Krishna. If someone has something.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mitchie. Thank you, everyone that will be watching Cross Time